public humiliation inside the Democratic Party. It's never been this bad. After 40 days, 40 nights of nothing but political grandstanding, a handful of Democrats finally agreeing to end their own party's filibuster, thankfully clearing the way for an end to the longest government shutdown in history. Now, we will check in with Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. He will join us. Lindsey Graham will join us. Again, we're still awaiting final passage. Our good friend Stephen A. Smith has a very important message for his fellow Democrats about this shutdown, and he does blame them. And what do Democrats have to show for all of this? There is now an all-out political civil war that has broken out within their ranks, which we will get to in detail. But we do begin with the single most pointless shutdown in American history. Democrats closed your government for nearly 6 weeks. Federal workers went without pay. And look at your screen. Food assistance programs went dry. In fact, 42 million Americans went without SNAP assistance. Meanwhile, you see what's happening at our nation's airports. The FAA forced to cut back flights all over the country. As a result, there were more than 10,000 flight delays in the past 24 hours alone. But that's not all. More than 5,300 flights have been canceled. This is very real pain felt by Americans far and wide, coast to coast, the longest shutdown, as I said, in history. Take a look.
I don't really care what your political persuasion is, but you should really call your senator. Because I'll tell you, this is costing the airlines millions of dollars. And just think of 30 airplanes with one engine running. And it's going to take us at least 90 minutes to take off. So it's frustrating. It's really frustrating for me.
Oh, there must have been a really good reason for Democrats shutting down the government, right? Your government, and causing so much pain, right? After all, Chuck Schumer has been against government shutdown since forever. His entire career, he was against them. Here's a reminder.
What if I persuaded my caucus to say I'm going to shut the government down? I'm going to not pay our bills unless I get my way. It's a politics of idiocy, of confrontation, of paralysis. It's sort of like this. Someone goes into your house, takes your wife and children hostage, and then says, let's negotiate over the price of your house. You know, we could do the same thing on immigration. We believe strongly in immigration reform. We could say we're shutting down the government. We're not going to raise the debt ceiling until you pass immigration reform. It would be governmental chaos. Speaker McCarthy needs to stop letting the MAGA radicals drive his decisions and do the obvious and sensible thing. Follow the Senate's lead and pass a bipartisan CR to prevent this reckless shutdown. We do not want to let a Trump temper tantrum govern our policies or cause the shutdown of a government which everyone on both sides of the aisles knows is the wrong idea.
Wow, times have changed. Now, this is what Schumer sounds like when asked about working with President Trump to reopen the government. Take a look.
So now we're in a government shutdown. And you may be asking yourself, how the hell did we get here? Donald Trump and the Republican Party are hell-bent on taking health care away from 60 million people, closing community clinics, rural hospitals, nursing homes, all so they can keep giving tax breaks to their billionaire friends. It's a disgrace. So Democrats have 3 words for this. No way. It's literally life or death. We will not let Republicans blow up our health care system.
So just what are the extraordinary circumstances? Because, you know, for him to Chuck do a 180 after having one position his entire career and cause the suffering of millions of Americans through this government shutdown, well, according to top Democrats, it was all about, quote, political leverage. They said it out loud. Take a look.
And the White House, frankly, this is our only moment of leverage. And although a very unpleasant tool to use, it's gotten us focused on what we have to do to change direction on health care.
No responsibility on the Democrats, or at least you don't think that the public will perceive that the Democrats are responsible.
Shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, you know, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
Families will suffer, but we need the political leverage. As it turns out, Democrats didn't even really get leverage. This was all much ado about nothing. In fact, Democrats agreed to end their filibuster in return for essentially nothing. None of their idiotic demands were met. Remember, they initially wanted a whopping $1.5 trillion in additional spending to be to be spent on what, hundreds of millions for health care for illegals, extend their subsidies that they voted to be temporary for Obamacare during COVID, or officially, you know, what they call the Affordable Care Act. As my friend Mark Simone said to me today, if it's the Affordable Care Act, why does it need subsidies? And they wanted to fund PBS and NPR and DEI programs around the world. For 7 weeks, $1.5 trillion. In the end, this was all political theater, all aimed at their radical base. But guess what? The Democratic Party's radical base, they're not even happy. Take a look.
It's strange, Dean, to go back to the original sort of part of this conversation of whether he is a good deal maker. I mean, in a way, it seems like the president is kind of getting what he wanted 40 days ago when all this started.
I don't understand how a Democratic senator goes, wow, we won really big. Let me cave now. I don't understand. That makes no sense to me.
In terms of standing up to Donald Trump, the shutdown actually gave him more power. Exhibit A being what he's done with SNAP and SNAP benefits across the country.
But there's no way to defend this. And you are right to be angry about it. I'm angry about it.
Oh, I think this whole thing stinks. And I think most members of the House caucus on the Democratic side are absolutely outraged.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote.
As I said, a Democratic political civil war. Gavin Newsom desperately wants his party nomination for president in 2028, called the move to reopen the government, quote, pathetic. The socialist base wants more than just performative gestures, and this shutdown just exposed the single largest divide in the Democratic Party, frankly, in our lifetime. Now, tonight, they are at war with themselves. Party leadership is losing. Chuck Schumer will soon be political roadkill at the end of all this by his own party. We'll have more on that in a second. The radicals now reign supreme. Democrats could barely cobble together the handful of votes needed from retiring senators like Jeanne Shaheen and Dick Durbin to reopen the government. Almost every senator was just too terrified to vote against this radical socialist base that is the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. And this is likely the end, as I said, of Chuck Schumer. In fact, Democrats, they are already calling for his exit. We're going to play that in a moment. But first, even before the shutdown ended, well, you had socialist AOC openly challenging the Senate leader. This is a powerful moment.
Well, what I think is so impressive about what Zohran Mamdani accomplished tonight, as well as the entire movement of New Yorkers that came out to vote for him, is that he had to not just defeat a Republican, he had to defeat a Republican and the old guard of the Democratic Party at the same time. He was fighting a war on 2 fronts and not just one. And he still won resoundingly. And I think the message that that sends is that the Democratic Party cannot last much longer by denying the future.
Chuck Schumer's days in the Washington swamp are officially numbered, so be on the lookout for an announcement from Chuck. He's no longer seeking re-election or leadership. Hakeem Jeffries also knows that his standing in his party is in peril. Again, AOC, and I've been saying this for years, she's really in charge. Mamdani is in charge. The squad is calling the shots. Every other elected Democrat is merely trying to tiptoe around the real power base in the Democratic Party, who demand a brand of politics, I believe extreme, that the Democratic Party of just a few years ago is completely, I find it unrecognizable. This is officially the party of the squad, Bernie Sanders, Zora Mamdani, and Jasmine Crockett. Just listen to Secretary Scott Bessent embarrassed Georgie Stephanopoulos over this very issue this weekend on ABC. Take a look.
George, the best way to do it, and look, you were involved in a lot of these in the 90s, and you basically called the Republicans terrorists, and you said that it is not the responsible party that keeps the government closed. And so what we need is 5 brave, moderate Democratic senators to cross the aisle, because right now it is 52 to 3. 52 to 3. 5 Democrats can cross the aisle and reopen the government. That's the best way to do it, George.
I can disagree with you about the history there, but we don't need a history lesson right now.
George,
let's talk about what's happening right now.
If you want, I've got all your quotes here. I've got all your quotes here, George.
I'm sure you do.
And I went back,
let's talk about the situation
read
right
your
now.
book. So you got one purchase on Amazon this week, and that's very much what you said.
Checkmate. And while Democrats and the media mob played a weird game of political chess with their socialist base, President Trump, he's trying to spend every day creating new policies, help everyday Americans, including a possible dividend paid out to Americans funded by the new tariffs that are bringing in billions of dollars. Now, along with a proposal for a new 50-year loan to make housing more immediately affordable, which, by the way, likely will be the case with the new and sensible Fed chair, the president working to reward federal employees that never wavered under the shutdown with a potential bonus to air traffic controllers who didn't miss a day despite missing multiple paychecks. President Trump is offering a huge contrast to the insanity of the left. In fact, only one U.S. senator has been against his party's extreme politics from day one. That's John Fetterman.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.